Alright guys, here is the practice quiz for the 6.3 through 6.5 sections. So the first thing we got to do here on the first couple of problems is solve it one of two ways. One, it says decide if it's a binomial factor. So really the answer is just yes or no. So either you take the a, which in this case, remember we set those equal 0 and do the opposite. So a here is 4 and a here is -1, right? And we either take that number and we just plug it in right there. So 2 times 4 cubed minus 3 times 4 squared minus 18 times 4 minus 8. And that answer is the answer. If the answer is 0, well then it's good. If the answer is anything but 0, then it's not good. Now with another way we said is we could do it synthetically. And I'm going to show that because you can plug it in a calculator. Right? 2, -3, -18, and -8. Right? Drop it low, multiply and add, multiply and add, multiply and add, and sure enough I get 0, which means it's yes, right? Because when we get a 0 remainder, or when we get 0 when we plug it in, which you would, yes, it is a factor, right? Like it would give us 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. That is not something you have to do, but that would be the remainder of that, right? There is no other part of it. For this one, well, you could probably guess it, but we'll do it anyway. Let's see if that's a factor. 2, -3, -18, and -8. Drop it low. -5, -13, 13, 5. That's not 0. So no. Simple as that, okay? Or again, plugging -1 in here, here, and here. And I'm a little afraid of that because when you plug it in here, if you don't use it in parentheses, you will get the wrong solution here. -1 squared means -1 times -1, which makes that positive. But if you don't put it in parentheses, that's not how your calculator is going to do it. When you get to this problem, so again, back on this problem, when I give you a factor, a is the opposite. When I give you a factor, a is the opposite. When I don't give you a factor, I'm giving you a. So for this problem, again, you can go plug 6 in, or you can do synthetic division. And could you do this in your head? Sure. 216 minus 36 times 9. Anybody? 324 plus 96 plus 27. Let's see. If I add up all the positive numbers, I get 333. No, just kidding. 315. Right? Yep, 315. So, minus 324, I get -9. And that is the answer, but boy, I feel like it's a lot easier if we just do this. Remember, the remainder, if it's 0, it means it is a factor, but that's not what we're even looking for. We're just looking to find the remainder theorem, which gives us a lot easier the solution. And I'm guessing many of you probably couldn't multiply that stuff in your head as fast. Now with that being said, you could just plug it in your calculator, but I feel like it's easier doing this way, or you could check it that way as opposed to, okay? All right, then we get into some synthetic division stuff. So again, what we're gonna do here is just take the opposite of these. I think the key that I am posting, I'm gonna do -5 first and then 1. It really doesn't matter which order you do it in, but I'm gonna tell you right now, once I have these, I should go write these in, x minus 1 and x plus 5. And they're zeros, which means, again, we set it to equal 0 and do the opposite. We set that equal 0 and do the opposite, and that's how I get those x's. Now to make this work, and I'm telling you the factor, so this should work, which means, again, you should get 0 as a remainder, right? So I'm going to put 1 into 1, 3, -15, -19, and 30. Drop it low, multiply and add, multiply and add, multiply and add, multiply and add, right? So we got one. But this, again, is like x cubed plus 4x squared minus 11x minus 30, right? We don't want to do that. We want to actually keep going. We've talked about that in the notes and before this, that when it gets to here, let's get it to a quadratic that we can factor and set equal to 0, etc., right? So I'm going to also do -5 into those numbers. Now that kind of goes away, right? We're just doing these numbers. Drop the 1, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. Now remember, remainder, number, x, x squared. So this gives me x squared minus x minus 6. That's important that that negative is there, right? If you forget that, it's not going to make this problem go well, because when I factor this, I get x and x. The factors of 6 are 3 and 2, and minus and plus will give me a negative 3x and a positive 2x to give me the negative 1x that's there. Now, the reason that this is important is if you had a plus right here, you'd end up with plus 3 and minus 2, and all of your values would be wrong. I'm going to write those in first, x minus 3 and x plus 2. And again, set each of them equal to 0 and do the opposite, okay? Just because this might show up on the quiz, what if what you were left with was 1, 0, and 9, right? This would be x squared plus 0x plus 9, so it would just be x squared plus 9. And I can't factor this, right? If it was minus, I'd have x plus 3x minus 3, but it's not. I would set it equal to 0. I would do the opposite to both sides. We've done this before. And I would square root it. And hopefully you remember that whenever you see a square root sign, first of all, when you solve for x squared, it means plus or minus right away. And whenever you see a square root sign, you should be able to break it down. And with a negative, this is really the square root of 9 and the square root of negative 1, which is the square root of 9, which is 3, and the square root of negative 1, which is I. And that would be your other two answers that you would write here, right? This is not the answers, but if it was 3i and negative 3i, then you would just write x minus 3i and x plus 3i as the two factors, okay? All right, so let's move on. By the way, these were the answers. That was just a, hey, what if this happens? Hint, hint. All right, on number 5. Again, I know 7 is a factor, so I'm going to put that in right away. Multiply and add, multiply and add. Are you getting sick of this yet? It's pretty easy though, I hope, right? Remainder, number, x squared. So I have 3x squared minus 2x minus 8. And again, I'm finding the zeros. One thing I didn't do right away, I should have just put that x minus 7 in and write the 0, which is the opposite, of course. This, boy, some of you really struggle with this, but if you remember, it's 3x and x for the factors of 3. And then the factors of 8 are 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. And you'd probably guess and check and tell you plug in the right thing, right? So if I plug in, let's see, 2 here and 4 here, I'm going to get 2x and 12x. That's never going to give me 2. If I put 4 here and 2 here, it's going to be 4x and 6x. Well, that can get me there, right? 4 and 2. Because 4 times 2 will give me that 8. And this 4x and this 6x can give me negative 2x, as long as the 6 is negative and the 4 is positive. So let's make the 4 positive. And that's negative because negative 2 times 3 would be negative 6. There's my two factors, 3x plus 4 and x minus 2. Right? And now, of course, I set this equal to 0 and I get 2. When I set 3x plus 4 equal to 0, though, remember to solve this, you would first minus 4, which you would do all the time anyway. And then maybe show this step, because some of you want to tell me that the answer to this is 3/4, but it's not. You're dividing both sides by 3, so the answer is negative 4/3 as a fraction. If you want to write negative 1 1/3 or negative 1.3 repeating, I guess you can. But that is the factors, and those are the roots, okay? Done with that. Let's flip to the back side, okay? About halfway done. For this problem here, it's very similar to what you would do in number 9. So I'm going to kind of do both of them at the same time. First things first, rewrite this, right? X plus 4 does not mean distribute the 4. It means x minus 3 times x plus 4 times x plus 4. It means to square just that term, right? And then it's just about foiling. And I'm just going to foil the first two, I guess, because nothing's going to cancel even if I foil these two together. And this gives me x squared plus 4x minus 3x minus 12. And I still get this x plus 4 chilling, right? So that is x squared, combine my like terms, plus 1x minus 12 times x plus 4. All right, now I've just got to FOIL this out, or distribute it really is what it is. So x times x squared is x cubed. X times 1x is x squared. And x times negative 12 is negative 12x. 4 times x squared is a plus 4x squared. 4 times 1x is a plus 4x. And 4 times negative 12 is a minus 48. And now I just combine some like terms. I've got an x cubed out here. I got an x squared and a 4x squared gives me a 5x squared. I get a negative 12x and a positive 4x gives me a negative 8x. and minus 48 at the end. There it is in standard form, which means from highest to lowest exponent, okay? I'm going to do number 9 just because it is very similar to that, and then I'll come back to 7 and 8. On number 9, again, it's giving you A, right? If it gives you the factors, you just FOIL through it. If it gives you A, that means, well, I need to write them in x minus A form. So this is x minus negative 3. I'll come back to that. This is, right here, x minus 2 and x plus 2, right? Because it's plus or minus. Just write it like that, right? Remember, minus a negative means plus, and it should work out. If I were to set that equal to 0, I would minus it to the other side, and I'd get negative 3. That's the way it should work, okay? And now this is just like what you saw up there. Now, I will say, with that being said, here we multiplied the first two. Here, when we have opposites, stuff cancels. We can multiply those two. Just like if I go 2 times 3 times 4, I can go 2 times 3, which is 6, and multiply that by 4. Or I can go 3 times 4 is 12 and multiply that by 2. And either way, I get 24, right? So I'm going to multiply these two together first. And here's why. Because it's just easier. It's less steps, right? I FOIL it. I get x squared. I get a plus 2x and a minus 2x. And they cancel each other out. This one didn't, right? So I'm not even going to write it. And then negative 2 times positive 2 is negative 4, right? Again, that negative 2x and that positive 2x cancel each other out. And then that's just a FOIL problem from there. And up here we had 3 times 2, so it made it a little like 6 terms that we had to simplify. This is real easy. We just go in order. X times x squared is x cubed, right? 3 times x squared is a plus 3x squared. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. And last is negative 12. And there we have our guy. Hey. And our solution. Okay? All right, let's come back to 7 and 8. On 7 and 8, it should say factor completely. Okay, write that down on your practice quiz or on your paper or whatever. Because completely means take out the GCF first, and maybe I'll write that reminder here. GCF. And then keep going. I'm going to give you problems that you can keep going on. So the GCF for all of these terms, yes, 2 can go onto all of them, but 4 can as well. And each of them has an x. So I'm going to take that 4x out and write what's left, which means I'm going to divide each of these by 4x, right? When I divide the 4's out, cancel. Take an x out of x cubed, I get x squared. Minus 36 divided by 4 is 9. Take an x out, I get x. Plus the x's here cancel, 20. And then again, like I said, keep going, right? So basically I'm going from here backwards to get to there. Right? And that's kind of where I'm going with this. X and x. Factors of 20 are 2 and 10. That's never going to give me 9. 4 and 5. Yep. 4 and 5. As long as both of them are negative, because that'll give me a negative 4 and a negative 5 to give me that negative 9. And a negative times a negative to give me a positive. That's it. That's the answer. Okay? Same thing on the next one. The GCF for those is 2 and x. So I'm going to divide 2x by both of those. Don't forget 2x is part of your answer here. So I divide the 2's and the x I get to there. Minus, again, the x's cancel. And this should trigger something, y'all. This is back to chapter 6.2. This is a difference of squares. I can square root both of those. So I get not x equals plus or minus 5. I get x plus 5 and x minus 5. And that's how that one works too. Okay? Look for that stuff as you're going. Last problem here is you having to come up with the actual roots, right? Like on this problem, I gave you factors. Excuse me, this problem, I gave you factors. On this problem, I gave you a factor, and you went and made it work. On this problem, you don't know what the factor is, okay? So it's the factors of this is really what you're going to have to try. And the factors of 15 are plus or minus 1, 3, 5, or 15, right? And so we just start guessing and checking. I'm going to try negative 1 first. 1, 1, negative 17. I know you would try 1 first, but that's because I know 1 works. And I want to show you what happens when it doesn't work, right? 32. I know that doesn't work because I didn't get 0, right? So then I'm going to try 1, and then I'm going to try 3, and then I'm going to try negative 3, and so on. And I'm just here to tell you that 1 works. 1 works. I'm going to show you, okay? 1 works. 1, 1. You know what? No, I'm not even going to show you. 1 works. Trust me, okay? 1 works. And you would get something you can factor, and you would find the other ones. But I'm here to tell you, what if you just guessed 3 first, right? You'd get 1, 1, negative 17, and then 15, 15. I'm going to go drop it low, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. Sweet. Remember, remainder number x squared, that this 3, write it in there. It is not the opposite, it is not a factor, it is a that you found as a solution. And now you could keep guessing 5, negative 3, etc. Or you can just rewrite this as x squared plus 4x minus 5 and factor it, right? It's just x, and I'm going to give you a fairly simple problem on the other one too. And this is a plus 5 and a minus 1 to be able to get that positive 4 there. Set this equal to 0, the solution is negative 5. Set this equal to 0, do the opposite, the solution is 1. And that's my answers. Now again, what if I had used 1? 1, 1, negative 17, and then 15. I keep trying to make that negative. Okay, 1, I'm going to go fast, 2, negative 15, 0. This would have been x squared plus 2x minus 15, which is x, 5, and 3, plus and minus. I'd still get the 1, and the negative 5, and the positive 3. Right? Even if I had taken this, and let's say I did negative 5 first. All right, I finally didn't write that negative. Right? You still get that 0, so you know negative 5 works, and you would factor this to get 3 and 1, minus and minus. That would give you your positive 3 and your positive 1. So it really doesn't matter the order in which you do it. Find one that works, write the resulting polynomial, and then factor it. Okay? All right, that's the whole thing, y'all. Hopefully this helps. Have a good one.